Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name's Lizzie and today, as promised, I have a show and tell video for you. Now this video is going to make it seem like I've been extremely productive in terms of sewing recently, and I have, but there is a little bit of a reason as to why that is. So it looks like I've done tons of sewing, but actually a lot of these projects are refashions or alterations, and I'd been kind of putting off a lot of my refashions and alterations. You'll have seen in some of my previous videos, I've got some boxes of sort of fabrics and projects sort of to alter, but they've never seemed as exciting as making something from scratch. But what I have realised over the past couple of weeks, that refashion and alteration projects can be so satisfying because they're much quicker to do than making something from scratch. So I get that kind of sense of satisfaction of I've ticked that project off my to-do list in a fraction of the time. So anyway, let me get started. The very first thing that I have to show you is, I'm going to put some pictures in as usual so that you can see what's what. So the first thing that I have to show you is a refashion of my Megan Nielsen Cottesloe swimsuit. I made this last year. Was it last year or the year before? Yeah, originally made last year, 2019, and I made it in this amazing leopard print swim fabric that I got from Minerva Crafts. Now, full disclosure, the fabric was gifted to me from Minerva Crafts in exchange for a blog post. So the original swimsuit that I made, I wrote a blog post on and gave that to Minerva Crafts, and that's where that relationship sort of ended in regards to this particular make. But of course I want to let you know that this fabric was gifted to me. And essentially I loved this swimsuit and I got a lot of compliments on it. I love wearing it on various different sort of holidays and whatever occasion I could last year. Yeah, I've worn it on a beach, I've worn it in a hot tub, I've worn it, yeah, whenever I could, loved it. But it was problematic because it was a bit too short in the body. I'm very long in the torso, and so it just felt I felt a bit constricted in it. I think that was partially because I lined it in some really heavy duty power mesh, and I think the power mesh had less stretch than this swimsuit fabric, and it just meant that it didn't allow the swimsuit to stretch as much as it would have done if I had just self-lined it or even not lined it. This fabric is actually really quite, it's totally opaque even when it's stretched and even when it's wet, so I actually now haven't used the power mesh this time around. It also felt a bit tight across the chest. Again, I think the power mesh lining was stopping it from stretching the full way. It kind of gave me a wedgie a bit because of it being too short in the body. Yeah, and so I just wasn't totally 100% happy with it. And I thought, well, why don't I refashion it into a bikini? I've always been a big fan of the Megan Nielsen Cottesloe bikini. So the Cottesloe pattern is brilliant because you get 4 different variations, swimsuit, bikini, etc., different kind of waist heights and everything else. And in the end I chopped the swimsuit in half, which felt like a really dramatic thing to do. So that was a big moment, and I was able to harvest some of the fabric from the swimsuit, but actually luckily I did have some leftover fabric, quite a bit of leftover fabric, so I was able to cut afresh a few of the pieces as well. What I decided to do was try to replicate as much as I could of view C. Well, so view C for the top. So what I've ended up making is the little crop top, and this is the one that's a bit higher. It doesn't have the wider underbust band. And then what I've done is made the view D style bottoms. So these I actually did cut afresh with spare fabric because on my original Megan Nielsen Cottesloe swimsuit I'd actually made the leg quite a bit higher rise. So view D is the high-waisted bottoms with the band at the top, and they've got a nice full bottom. And I'll put some pictures in of what it looked like, and I'm really pleased with it. As I said, I chose not to line it this time. It's totally unlined, so I unpicked all the lining. Honestly, unpicking the original one was a complete pain because I'd done just the amount of rows of stitching that you end up with to attach the elastic, and then to hide the elastic, the elastic is hidden in here, but the instructions tell you to attach the elastic, and then fold it over and sort of hem it essentially. So you've got a lot of rows of zigzag stitches to unpick when you're fiddling with it. But I think it's so worth it. It's so much better without the power mesh, which is a shame. I still need to figure out then what the best thing is to line swimsuit fabric with, because I thought power mesh was supposed to be the thing, but this particular power mesh I've bought just is so thick and has such little stretch. I think to use that stuff in the future, if I was to use a swim fabric of a similar weight to this, I would probably have to actually cut the power mesh like the next size up or something, because the power mesh is probably going to have less stretch than my swim fabric. So that will be, I'll figure that out in the future next time I have a swim fabric that I do feel like I need to line. But yeah, I'm afraid I can't give you like a full review yet because I haven't worn it. I am not going swimming at the moment because of coronavirus. I'm not going on holiday, definitely not because of stupid coronavirus. And it's now winter, so it's just generally less likely that I'm going to be wearing a swimsuit. But I'm just so pleased with it. And yeah, I definitely will be making more. I think next time what I might try and do is make the bottoms but still high-waisted, but make them higher rise. That could be a nice look. So yeah, that was a very satisfying refashion. I did make one adjustment to the back pattern piece for the bottoms, and this is because I'm quite slim and I have, I guess, a fairly small bottom, so my bottom doesn't fill out the back pattern piece as much as it should, so it meant I had a bit of wrinkling and a bit of gaping at the top here because I didn't fill up the space in the back of the bottoms. So what I ended up doing is I actually like lowered the curve at the back, so it was just sort of roughly a very shallow curve. I actually dropped that down by a couple of centimeters just to take out some of the length of this back piece, because there just isn't enough of my body to fill it up. So, and that made them fit much better, so that was really good. I did that before then attaching the waistband. The next thing that I made is a Tilly in the Buttons Freya top. Total classic for me. I've got quite a lot of Tilly in the Buttons Freyas now. And it's in this lovely navy blue. It's kind of not quite navy actually, it's a bit richer than a navy blue. But it's, yeah, this blue jersey fabric. This is fabric that I've had for a really long time. I originally bought it from, I think it was one of the shops on the Goldhawk Road in London, I can't remember which. And I bought it because I wanted to make the Callie jumpsuit, which is like a summery, like jersey, loose, flowy jumpsuit. And I kind of still, I had a complete fabric malfunction and bought totally the wrong fabric. Luckily realised that and never made it. This would be totally wrong for the Callie jumpsuit because it's too thick. It would be way too like thick and warm to wear in the winter, and it doesn't have hardly any recovery in it, so it would have just gone saggy at the knees and looked awful. It was just totally wrong. So it's been in my stash for ages and I've been trying to figure out what to make with it. And I decided that with it being quite a cosy, thick jersey, it would make a nice kind of cozier top to wear in the winter. I made this Freya in the normal size I would usually make, so when I've made it before in like a cotton jersey or viscose jersey, it's been quite tight fitting. But this fabric is so kind of just loose weave or loosely knitted. I don't really know the correct terminology to describe it, but it's much more loose fitting in the same size than my other Freyas, and that's good because I think I can treat it actually as a lightweight jumper in the winter, and I can wear like a long sleeve top underneath. So it's kind of just a cozy one that I will wear at home or wear on a cozy day with like jeans and boots or whatever. Nothing particularly like exciting, but it will just be a really good winter basic, I think, particularly now, well, particularly that I'm still working from home and everything else, not going out that much thanks to coronavirus. So yeah, and actually, because I bought quite a lot of this fabric, because I was going to make a jumpsuit out of it, which would have been such a bad idea, I actually have enough to make another one, and I think I might make kind of the same thing again, but more of a boxy fit, more of like a cropped boxy fit, because I just need cozy jumpers to throw on in the house, you know, and blue, as hopefully you know if you've watched my other videos, blue is just what I want to wear all the time, or green, just blue or green basically. The next thing that I made is a cushion cover. Let me grab it. This is a cushion cover made in a very non-traditional fabric for cushion covers, because I've actually made it in Ponte Roma, which is leftover from other projects. This is what it looks like. How cute is it? It's mustard with these little white pom-pom fringing on it. Now this I just think is the cutest thing ever. You would not normally make a cushion out of a jersey fabric. Traditionally, I think you'd make it in something much heavier weight. You'd make it in something woven that doesn't have any stretch. But hear me out. I have a couple of cushions that I've made in like a thick jersey fabric, and they're just so like snuggly and soft. The wadding in this cushion pad is horrible. I think I need to give it a bit of a massage. It's a bit lumpy, so sorry if you can see my lumps and bumps in my cushion. But yeah, I just think soft jersey cushions are snuggly, and I was very lazy. Well, with it being jersey, I didn't really want to put a zip in it. Usually I would finish my cushion covers with zips, but I couldn't be bothered and didn't want to, so I just did like an envelope finish at the back. I hope you can see that. So basically this envelope just opens and there's two flaps, so you just open it up to take it off to wash it. So this is very much the front, because you wouldn't want like snuggle up your face on the flap part. And this stuff is brilliant. I bought this stuff from, what's it called? Let me just look it up because I can't remember what it's called. That's it, Dalston Mill Fabrics in London. It's on Ridley Road, where the Ridley Road market is. So it's quite a good place to go if you're in London. If you haven't been to Dalston Mill Fabrics, like do go. It's one of those Aladdin's cave shops that's got so much stuff in it. And yeah, I picked that up from this stuff up from there one time, had it in my mind that I'd use it as trim on a cushion, and just never got around to it. So this was probably a couple of years ago. And this stuff is great. You basically just sandwich it in between your fabric. So when you're sewing a seam, you've got your, right sides together, you pin it all in, ready to sew your seam. But instead of just having the two layers of fabric pinned together, you sandwich this stuff in between. So these pom-poms are on a little narrow band of like, I don't know, 1/2 centimetre in width of sort of tape. And so yeah, you just sandwich that in, and then when you turn it all out the right way, you've got your pom-poms. So this is to go here in this room. This is my bedroom, mine and my husband's bedroom, and we have like white bedding, we've got dark blue velvet curtains, and then cushions on the bed are sort of mustard and navy blue mixture. So that's kind of the colour scheme we've got going on. So yeah, and again, a cushion cover is just such a satisfying sew. Like I was suffering with a bit of lack of motivation a week or two ago, and I mentioned it to you guys, and you guys were all really helpful and gave lovely suggestions, so thank you. And some of you did say, why don't you make something simple like a cushion cover, and thanks for the top tip, because it was a really nice way to just do a really quick, satisfying sew that kind of got my creative sewing juices flowing again, so that was good. I have a couple of refashions to show you next. These were super quick and simple refashions. I'll put pictures in of what they looked like before, but I had two just really simple jersey, like ribbed jersey t-shirt dresses. They were originally from H&M. I was trying to think when I bought them. I must have had them for years. I'm trying to think if I would have already had them when I met my husband or not, which was 8 years ago. They could be about 8 years old, so I've had them for a long time. Originally I wore them in the summer with, bare legs and sandals. They were like a summer dress. But I'm not sure if they've shrunk or if I've just grown, but they just became a bit too short for me to be comfortable wearing them with bare legs in the summer, and they're not the kind of thing that I personally would wear in the winter with tights and stuff. They're just not so much my style in the winter. So I thought, right, I'm gonna stop them languishing in the cupboard for however many years without being worn. I'm gonna chop them up and turn them into t-shirts. So that's exactly what I did. So this is the first one in navy blue and white stripes. I mean, such a staple. And then the other one is like a khaki green colour. And yeah, I literally I used a t-shirt that I already have, like a ready-to-wear t-shirt, to measure roughly how long I wanted them to be, because I wanted them to be a similar length to those t-shirts. And I literally sort of pinned all the fabric together so the fabric didn't move. So I pinned 2 rows of pins across the t-shirt, so that I would then use my rotary cutter to cut in between those 2 rows of pins, just to make sure that the fabrics didn't move when I was cutting. And I literally chopped them off. I hemmed them with my I don't have like a cover stitch machine or anything like that, so I just overlocked the raw edge and then I hemmed them with my twin needle. A twin needle, I've just kind of recently got used to sort of the tension settings and stuff I need to use, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but basically it allows you to have a slightly more professional finish because you end up with 2 rows of stitches on the outside and then it's got like a small zigzag on the inside. It's just a slightly more professional finish than doing a zigzag. Oh, I've actually got a bit, oh no, I've popped these stitches. I've just realised I've got a bit where it's coming unravelled. Uh-oh, maybe I don't quite have my tension settings right on my twin needle. I'm gonna have to repair that. Oh, damn it. But anyway, super quick and simple. The only thing I did have to do other than chop the length off is I did have to square the hips a bit because it was designed, because it was a t-shirt dress, it kind of came down and then went out over the hips, but it then looked a bit funny as a t-shirt, so I just squared the hips a bit because my hips are quite narrow and hemmed them. Yeah, it was a really simple thing to do, and now I have 2 extra t-shirts that I can, you know, wear in spring, summer with jeans, or I can wear under jumpers in this time of year. Just great basics in colours that I really like wearing. Great to give a new lease of life to garments that were basically unworn. So, success. Last but not least, I have one more refashion. Now, 3 years ago, so in fact almost exactly 3 years ago, yeah, it was like this time of year, October 2017, I made the Tilly and the Buttons Megan dress. This is a pattern that's from Tilly and the Buttons' first book, the Love at First Stitch book, and I made it in the most gorgeous, gorgeous faux suede fabric from Fabric Godmother. I think it was one of their sort of ex-designer dead stock type fabrics. So unfortunately it's not a fabric that they stock regularly, but I saw it, snapped it up. I've actually also got the same or similar fabric in like a camel colour that I made my Tilly and the Buttons, no, what's that skirt called? Ariel skirt. Also Fabric Godmother fabric, and yeah, this fabric is just, oh, it's just gorgeous. Anyway, I made the Megan dress, and at the time, so 2017, I'd only been dressmaking for like less than a year really, and so yeah, it was very much a beginner still at that stage, very much so. So at the time I was crazy proud of it, so happy that I'd made like such a nice dress, such beautiful fabric, but it never quite got the wear that I wanted it to, and that was due to fit. So I think the Megan dress is not necessarily supposed to have quite such like prominent shoulders. So that's, I think, one of 2 things. It was my own like skill level of inserting sleeves was not as good at that point. I think it was probably one of the first things I'd put, I think it might have been one of the first times that I'd put woven, like inserted sleeves with woven fabric maybe. Anyway, so I didn't insert the sleeves very expertly at all, and because this fabric is quite thick, I just ended up with quite big prominent shoulders, which I wasn't a fan of so much aesthetically. Secondly, it just didn't fit me well across the chest at all. I think I probably should have made a larger size and graded down on the lower half of my body, because it always just felt like I was quite restricted on my arms and shoulders, just a poor fit. It also didn't fit very well around the bust. The bodice just did not fit me well at all. If I were to make it now, I would make a 12 first and make multiple pattern adjustments before going ahead. Secondly, just the style with these sort of sleeves that ended up quite puffed and it just not fitting well across my torso meant I felt quite top heavy in it. And I am top heavy, that is just the nature of my body shape. I am like broader at the top and I've got quite narrow hips at the bottom, and it just never felt, although I liked wearing it because I was really proud of wearing this beautiful dress that I'd made myself, I never quite felt as good in it as I wanted to. So I obviously couldn't get rid of it because of this fabric. Like, I might never find fabric like this again. Like, I hope I do, but anyway. So I thought, okay, how can I alter this dress so that I get more wear out of it? I decided that the lack of shoulder movement and feeling restricted was a big part of it, so I chopped the sleeves off. Well, I didn't chop them off, I unpicked them carefully because I knew I needed to harvest the fabric. And that's basically all I did. I unpicked the sleeves, I used the fabric from the sleeves to make some facing pieces. So I used the pattern pieces and traced off some facing pieces, like I drafted some facing pieces so that I could finish the armholes with facings, and that was basically it. That's all I did. I did have to play around with the facings a little bit. They're not perfect because I think it turned out that I'd made a few adjustments to the armholes. Don't ever do that. I've learnt that now, that you shouldn't mess with armholes unless you know what you're doing. So anyway, I had to bodge my facing pieces a little bit. But what I've been left with is a sleeveless faux suede dress with this lovely ruffle on the bottom. So I added ruffles to the sleeves and the hem myself. That was not part of the pattern. And now it still doesn't fit great across the bust and stuff, but it's so much better now that it's sleeveless. And the plan is that I will wear this with things underneath. So I have made a Vogue what is it called? V8772 bell sleeve blouse. And I've just got a vision of wearing that blouse underneath this dress. I'll put a picture in so you can see my sort of vision. But this blouse has got a pussy bow, it's got big, I've hacked the sleeves to make big sort of bell sleeves or bishop sleeves, so I'm not sure what the correct term is. And I want to wear this to work, or, you know, to a nice restaurant, or I don't know, you can kind of, I could dress it to be quite smart for work or a bit more playful for like leisure time. But I just think it would be such a great outfit. Ultimately, of course, I can find other sort of long-sleeved, high-necked things that I could wear underneath it in my wardrobe, or even make a few new blouses. I just think I'm going to get so much more wear out of it like this, and I'm kind of thinking it's a bit of a shame I'm still working from home, because it would be such a nice office outfit. So there you have it. That is everything that I've been sewing recently. I really hope that you've enjoyed seeing these things and hearing me talk about them. I'm really glad that I've done a few more refashions. I'm really hoping this will be a theme that will continue. It just feels so good to give a new lease of life to garments that are unloved, particularly handmade garments. I think it's very common that the garments you make in your first few years of dressmaking might end up not being the garments you get that much wear out of, just because you learned so much so quickly in your first few years of dressmaking. The things I make now fit me so much better than the things that I made a few years ago, or my fabric choices are better, etc, etc. So it's kind of inevitable that some of your early makes, maybe you're not going to end up wearing them so much, but sometimes there'll be an opportunity to change them, alter them, repurpose the fabric for something else, and then you can, yeah, get more wear out of those makes from a few years ago, and I just think that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I'm sorry that I'm so rubbish at replying to comments, but I do read them, and you guys have been leaving me some absolutely lovely comments, so thank you so much. They really do mean a lot to me, and they put a big smile on my face when I read through them all, so thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye!